have you ever tried to add camera movements to your stop motions, but then you realize that it's way too expensive and very difficult? Well, what if I told you there is an easy way to add camera movement to your stop motions that is completely free, and it is actually very easy to do? Well, that's exactly what I'm telling you right now. Hey guys, welcome back to Learning Curve Tech, where I learn tech with you. The first thing you will need to do is to shoot your stop motion. Now, while shooting, you do need to keep a few things in mind. First, you will need to shoot a little bit wider on the zoom than you would for the actual shot. So when you go to shoot it, just frame up the shot and then zoom out just a tiny bit. This will give you enough room to add movement in the next steps. Also, you will want to shoot in a relatively high resolution, preferably 4K or even higher if you want to. Now, the next thing you need to do is to download DaVinci Resolve if you don't already have it. It's a completely free editing software and I use it for almost all of my videos. Now, I'm not sponsored by DaVinci, but I really think it is a great product and you should definitely try it out if you don't already have a video editing software. Now, of course, you can also use Premiere Pro, Final Cut, or really any other editing software, but the steps might be a little different. So now we're here at the desk, and the first thing we're going to do is start by just importing the stop motion. Now, once it's imported, there are actually a few types of camera movement you can add within DaVinci Resolve. Now, the first one we're going to do is add camera shake. Now, in my last stop motion that I did, I actually added camera shake to emphasis when the grandma is hitting her cane on the ground right here. And also when she hits his sword right there. Boom, camera shake. Now you might think this took such a long time to make, but it actually is very simple. So we're actually going to just add the entire stop motion again to the timeline so that I can show you how to do this. So first, make sure you open the effects panel. It's up in the top left-hand corner. So then you're going to scroll down to Resolve FX Transform. That is all the way down here, and the first thing you'll notice, it says camera shake. And all you have to do is click that and drag it over and drop it on top of the video clip. Now you'll notice that there is camera shake, but it is the entire length of the clip, which we do not want at all, because it would just make the people utterly seasick while they're watching this stop motion. So once you have the effect, all you have to do is go up to this top right-hand corner. If you don't see it, it's under inspector, and if inspector is gone, all you have to do is click inspector and it'll pop up again. And then you just go to effects and you'll see this all these different sliders that you can customize your camera shake with. It's really cool. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the beginning of where you want the camera shake to happen. So for example, right here, I see that she hits her staff on the ground. Boom, right there. That's where it makes contact. So I'm going to go there and find that one frame. Now you're gonna set the keyframes over here. So you see this little diamond, that's a keyframe. That basically tells the software, this is what I want it to be at this exact time, if that makes any sense at all. So just tap those two, and you're actually gonna move the speed scale down to 0.5, just so it's not super shaky. And that's just a general area. You can go 0.4, whatever you want. Now you're going to go to the end of where you want the shake to kind of settle down. So I want the shake to end right before she picks up the staff again. So I'm going to go to back to my keyframes. I'm just going to drag them all the way down to 0. And you'll notice that they are automatically keyframed. What this is, this happens whenever you keyframe once. Every time you move the slider after that, it will automatically keyframe for you, which is pretty handy. Now, one thing you do have to keep in mind is that if you go to, for example, right before this, you'll notice there's still camera shake. You might be like, why is that there? That's because you already have it set to shake at a certain point. So you have to actually go one frame before it starts and then just drag those down to 0. So basically it starts at no shake, then all of a sudden it jumps up to a bunch of shake once she hits the staff on the ground, and then slowly dies off until there is no shake. Now, I don't really like how that looks, so I'm gonna kind of customize it a little bit. You can do whatever you want. You can change the speed, the motion scale, and I'm also going to go down and change the shake quality. Right here it says motion method. I don't really like how sine looks, so I'm going to change it to rectified sine invert. I found that kind of looks a little bit better in my opinion. And it's still a little bit too like jittery, so I'm going to go and change the speed scale a little bit, make it a little bit slower. And I like that a lot better. So I found that 0.15 worked for the speed at the beginning of the clip. Now you can really just customize this to however you like, but this is the basic pattern for getting camera shake. Now the second camera movement that you can add is zoom. However, before I show you how to do this, please go below the video and hit the like button if and only if you are actually finding this video helpful so far. That way I can get your feedback and I can know if you like this video, and then I can better serve you by making more of these types of videos. Thank you so much, and let's continue. So for zoom, this is actually really simple to do, but very complicated at the same time. That's why I'm going to show you how to do it. First, what you're going to want to do is find the part where you want to zoom. For example, I'm going to have it zoom in when he's shaking the sword at the grandma. So you're going to cut Control B at the end, and also go to the beginning and make sure that is entire clip by itself. Now that we have the clip, all you have to do is right click and make it a new Fusion clip. Then you're going to head to the Fusion page, hence why you had to make it a Fusion clip. This is basically like After Effects for DaVinci Resolve. Now, it will look very confusing when you open Fusion for the first time, but there's only a few things you actually have to do in order to get this zoom effect. First, go to Transform. It's on this row of icons, and it looks like a little rectangle with these two arrows. Click that, and then head over to the Inspector panel. If you can't see the Inspector panel, then click Inspector. Go to the beginning of your clip, and then put a keyframe for the size. Then go to the end of your clip, and you're gonna set another keyframe that's a little bit zoomed in. So obviously this looks terrible, but this is just an example for you guys. Now, you could leave it like this, and it will just be a smooth zoom in. And that's totally fine. If you want it to just be a smooth zoom in with no ease in or ease out, that is totally fine. It really comes down to what you're trying to get. If you're trying to just get the look of a camera zooming in smoothly, then you can leave it how it is. But if you want to get more of like a quick zoom or something a little bit more polished, then I'll show you how to do that. All you have to do is head over to this little tab up here, and you will see this little checkbox. Just click the big checkbox, and then click the zoom out. Okay, now you'll see that there are 2 points that you can select. So just select the first one, and then drag this other point down, and then go to the other one and drag it up. It should look like some sort of S-curve. And this is basically to get that ease in and ease out. It's keyframes. It's really confusing, but as long as you make it look like this S-curve, you should be fine. Then to make it a little bit more smooth, go to Settings and select Motion Blur. Then your clip should look something like this, a nice smooth zoom. You go back to Edit page and just watch that through. Perfect. You can tweak this to whatever you like, but this is the general way to get a zoom effect. Now for the last effect, we're gonna make a pan or a tilt, depending on what you're going for. For this, we are going to use the same transform tool on the Fusion page. So we're just gonna use the same clip since we've already used it. And just make sure that you go to the beginning of the clip, or else, for example, if you go to the end of the clip, it will automatically take you to the next clip. This is really annoying, so just make sure you go to the beginning of the clip and then open up Fusion. Boom, there it is. Now I'm gonna get rid of the keyframes for size, and you'll see why in a second. So now I'm gonna revert it back to 1, and we have it at its original. Now what you're gonna wanna do is actually go and increase the size a little bit. So go to maybe 1.1 or something like that. Next, you can go up to center or pivot. It doesn't really matter which one you use from my experience. So for the sake of this, we'll just use center. Now for this, we're just gonna do a simple pan. So all you have to do for that is go to the beginning of the clip and then drag center X a little bit to the left, set a keyframe, go to the end of the clip and drag it, whoops, all the way to the right a little bit. And there it already has a keyframe for you. The only thing you don't want to do is drag it so far that the green line goes over that box, and you'll see there'll be little checkers right over there. You do not want those checkers because that means your image is basically going off the screen. So just keep it within that green line. Now, if you want, again, you can go back to this page and you can make that little S-curve like we made earlier with the zoom. And then you can go back and add motion blur if you want, whatever you want. And this will make a simple pan. Now, obviously this is not as good as doing it in camera, but if you don't have the time, or if you don't have the money or equipment to do a pan in camera, then you can always do it with editing software like we just did. Now that you know how to make camera movements, try making an explosion effect with this tutorial right over here.